Biden signs TikTok ban bill into law, starting the clock for ByteDance to divest.
God damn.
What do you think? Oh my God.
Well, so today's episode, the main thing of today's episode, we're going to be talking about the TikTok ban and some marketing stuff, other alternative marketing methods, mostly YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, before we get into all of that, you have some personal updates.
Do you have any updates?
Not really. Besides, we got our bikes.
Well, you got your bike back. Your dad was working on your bike for. Doesn't he give your bike a tune-up once a year or something?
Well, yeah, my dad's a bike nerd, and so he fixed up my bike, and then you've had all your stressful stuff going on, so we got you a bike.
Yeah, my first big girl bike. I'm excited. It's like a proper mountain bike.
But you said the bike helmets look stupid.
Yeah, so we were doing some research before we bought the bike, and then we finally got one, and then I was like, okay, there's some things that I'm gonna need, and I started looking into bike helmets, something that I would, looking for a cute one.
Well, we were laughing because out of all the helmets, snowboarding, skateboarding, whatever, bike helmets are kind of the dumbest looking ones out of the bunch.
Yeah, so I'm looking at them, and I'm like, looking for something that I'm going to be in love with. And I just realized that bike helmets are fucking ugly.
Yeah, they're pretty ugly.
Okay, so this I think is more of this isn't a mountain biking helmet.
That's like a normal bike helmet.
Well, the mountain bike ones, like the ones that we have, they have almost like a little fin or a tail or something in the front.
Yeah, kind of like the newer versions do, but that's like a pretty normal bike helmet.
Yeah, this one is like what people think of, I think. But I saw this one. This looks so fucking cool to me. But this is like what the pro riders wear, like a full face. Because if you crash and go boom, then this will protect your whole melon.
Yep.
So, anyways, the other kind of running topic in our house this week is I'm transitioning my diet big time right now. So I've kind of mentioned on here a little bit that I have been having some health issues, and I wasn't like an unhealthy eater prior to now at all. Like, generally speaking, I eat pretty well and such, but I'm having some kidney issues, apparently. That's what the doctors say. So I haven't been officially diagnosed with anything. We don't even really know what's going on yet. But I've been trying to follow a really kidney-friendly diet just to be kidney-friendly. And so just to take some of the load off of your kidneys, they suggest eating low salt and low protein, which is so contradictory to everything.
Yeah, so if anyone has tips on how to gain muscle while being on what are you doing, a vegan thing?
I'm not doing full veganism. I kind of am trying to mimic the Blue Zone diet idea, which is minimizing meat consumption to about 2 to 5%, eating a primarily plant-based diet, but the catch is that I have this kidney thing, and so I can't eat. Typically, I eat 1 gram of protein per pound, and so I usually weigh around 130 pounds, and so I eat 120, 130 grams of protein a day, but I'm supposed to eat about half of that now, and so eating a plant-based diet makes it really easy because everything is, just veg and stuff, but I'm like, how do I gain muscle? How do I gain muscle with 65 grams of protein a day? So if there's anyone that's an expert in this little niche.
Lots of eggs, lots of tofu.
No, I don't eat eggs.
Oh, you can't eat eggs either?
I personally don't eat eggs.
Or egg, I mean, egg whites, though.
I'm not even eating egg whites right now.
Dang.
It's just a new way of eating. Very, very new for me. So we're trying that. No, we're not trying that. You're not following that. I'm trying that, but I'm definitely influencing these guys. You're eating more vegetables and fruit just because it's in the house.
Well, I'll eat any diet as long as I can get enough protein in my.
Well, yeah, that's the thing for you is like you're a big person. Like you have really big caloric requirements and you're also like trying to put on more muscle. And so I don't think you could afford to eat like a vegan diet, honestly.
Yeah, I already
would
have
have
a
to-
hard time putting on weight.
Yeah, you would be eating piles of food. You'd have to eat constantly. Okay, so I have a bit of an addictive personality, we could say, right? I'm kind of just one of those people that I don't know if it's part of my ADHD or what, but like when I like something, I really like it. I get all the way into it. I need to watch 1,000 videos on it, whatever it may be this week or whatever. And so I thought that maybe we could start like an obsession of the week segment, which you're kind of hard. You may not always have one. You kind of don't change very much.
I don't have that kind of.
I do though, and I'm always looking at shit.
And Bobby and Freddie.
And then yeah, Bobby and Freddie, I must have just binge watched a bunch of their videos one night while I was having insomnia. Look at how fucking cute. Look at this baby, the human and the cat. He's like in a full chokehold the whole time, and he's just like here for it.
That cat's used to it. It's just like,
yeah, he loves it. He's sleeping.
Who are you talking to? Freddie looks nice.
Oh, look,
and
this one
comfy.
does. This one's
Does he
just
have
like
some
that.
popcorn?
Good kitty.
Well, we have one old cat. Here's our old cat. She just turned 14.
Yeah, she's old.
And then we have the baby who's just turned 2. And I would say neither of them are super cuddly. Like they both do cuddle, but not like Freddie.
You wish you had a Freddie.
I do. We've been talking about getting a dog though.
Well, dogs are a lot of work.
I know, but that's why it would just like, no, I don't want a big dog. I want something that could travel with us and like is small enough to be in the car and take on a plane or whatever, but not like a Chihuahua.
If you guys have any good recommendations.
We kind of like the idea of a French bulldog.
Yeah, maybe something in that category.
So, and then the other just kind of random thing that I picked up this week is this hilarious story of a porch pirate. Apparently they call them, like people that go around to people's houses and steal packages.
So this is news of the week. So the first story is the porch pirate. This is a cartoon. It has to be.
Look at this. This person dressed in a fucking trash bag, and he's just like, you can't see me.
This has to be like a kid. This has to be someone who just watched a cartoon, and then they're just like, oh yeah, definitely that'll work.
Well, apparently the person hasn't been caught.
Well, yeah, so apparently it did work.
But the interview with the guy that whose house it was, who had the surveillance video, he just said it wasn't that serious. It was only 2 like iPhone chargers in there. So, and then the other big news this week that everyone's talking about is this TikTok ban. This article is Biden signs TikTok ban bill into law, starting the clock for ByteDance to divest it. President Biden signed a foreign aid package that includes a bill that would ban TikTok if China-based parent company ByteDance fails to divest the app within a year.
Yeah, so basically they're giving him an ultimatum to either sell to a U.S. controlled entity or basically get rid of it.
It says they have an initial 9 months sorted out, and then the president would be able to extend it by 3 months if, they're close and they need the time.
So basically this one says, so the bill might get passed today. Well, okay, so this one's 2 months old. So this was basically when it was still kind of in speculation. But so it says the bill might get passed. It could be hard to ban. The government wants TikTok to sell its company, not fully ban it, and apparently they'll fudge TikTok half a year to distribute its content to YII. I don't know what that is, but YouTube, Instagram, etc. People are freaking out because for some it's their job. I personally think that it should be banned because if it directly violates users by accessing their info, as the government claims, it's a threat and must be banned. What do y'all think? Are you against it or not? And how will it directly impact you? Let's see what some of the comments say.
So this thread is a Gen Z thread. So I was kind of surprised, but there's a lot of support for it. Let's see.
Support for the ban?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty surprising. Well, I think, but also Gen Z doesn't really understand how the bigger game is played when it comes to this kind of stuff, because what TikTok is doing is there's nothing particularly unique about what's going on. Every single technology company collects data
Well, that's what this comment says. Anyone saying this is good is a moron. The U.S. government is just mad that there's a source of information for its citizens that they have no control or moderation over. It makes no difference whatsoever which country's government knows your likes and dislikes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, basically because the way this played out with Facebook and YouTube and all the other platforms is the government, if anybody remembers kind of the Cambridge Analytica thing in 2018 or whatever, there was basically a breach of privacy or so they say, which was there was kind of some stuff going on. But basically what happens is the government will find a way to take those types of situations and then demonize the app or the company, and they'll use that to basically position themselves look at these companies stealing your information. They need more government regulation. And so they basically turn the public against these companies to justify regulation so that they can kind of come in and do what they will.
Yeah, so what do you think? Do you think it'll sell? Do you think they'll settle and let China keep it?
The most likely scenario that I think will happen is that they'll come to some kind of agreement, which is basically what happens with all the other apps, to where they'll reach some kind of middle ground with the government, say, okay, whatever those terms might be, but the government's gonna have to get their piece of the pie some way, somehow. And if they don't, then yeah, they'll get banned, but everyone will just, they'll continue to use it with a VPN. And that'll be that.
My concern is always with people who fund their existence off of TikTok. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm always just
well, yeah, I think, at least for the OnlyFans crowd, a lot of creators have kind of migrated to Instagram Reels at this point anyway. So I don't think it's going to be if this would have, when they were kind of talking about this last year, people were freaking out a lot more. But
for OnlyFans creators specifically,
for OnlyFans. But now they're like, oh, fuck it, I don't use TikTok anymore anyway. So I don't think people are really freaking out that much.
Some creators, though, their whole business is on there.
Well, yeah, I still use TikTok quite a bit, and we have a lot of your kind of systems integrated with TikTok too. So, we use it, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because again, the most likely thing is that some kind of arrangement will be made to where the government gets their piece of the pie and the world just continues to go on. But if it doesn't, everyone will just use a VPN and not much will change anyway.
Yeah.
The people who are really going to get fucked are the kind of small mom and pop businesses that rely on TikTok for like local business and stuff like that, because them and their audiences don't really understand, VPNs or anything like that.
Which is super sad. Like, not them not understanding, but, that they will, could be seriously impacted by it. And just, I hope everyone's just kind of migrating into new platforms just in case. It's just smart. Like, don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, like, even for creators that are like all in on Instagram right now, like, cool, but yeah, I mean, definitely you have to kind of diversify your platforms, because this kind of stuff can happen to any platform at any time.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from Ask Me Anything on Reddit. I'm going to federal prison on June 14th. This is not Am I the Asshole? I'm going to federal prison on June 14th. Ask me anything. So this caught my attention because June 14th is your out date. You were released on June 14th, like...
To halfway house or to home?
No, with your ankle bracelet came off.
Oh, that was the day my ankle bracelet came off.
That's like your technical, like, released from prison date.
I'd say that was probably like when I was in prison, probably like 70-ish, 80% of the guys in there was like, well, probably most of the dudes in there were just like super friendly dudes, but they were kind of just like mules for the cartel. And they were just like, they just found or were approached with an opportunity. They're like, hey, take this package or take these drugs across the border, blah, blah, whatever. They did it. They didn't make it, and they ended up in prison. But a lot of them are just like normal, super nice dudes.
Yeah, I had just stumbled upon this subreddit. I hadn't seen it before. And then, of course, the first one that popped up was about federal prison. And I was like, whoa. And then it had your out date as his in date. And I was like, whoa.
Well, there we go. We'll open this up for the viewers of this podcast. I've been to prison, and I'm dating an Onlyfans model. Ask me anything. If you have questions, we'll do this one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So drop your questions in the comments. Maybe I'll answer some on the next one.
Okay, and then let's see. This one I thought was interesting just for kind of inspiration for thought on what's your plan after OnlyFans. So this person writes, if you don't plan on doing OnlyFans forever, what is your plan for the future? I've been doing it for 2 years full time, and the possibility of having to get a job is terrifying. I know I want to start another business, but I have no idea what, as everything requires you to have a, quote, reputation, and it seems like most people look down at sex work, unfortunately. So this thread has like 157 comments. I didn't read through all of them at all, but this top one I thought was so good, and there is so much feedback on it. She says, look at Lisa Ann. She has a radio show on sports. Guess who her boss is? ABC, Disney. You follow your passion and become the best. I love sex work. I love how much I've learned and continue to learn as technology changes. And I started out doing lingerie shows and stripograms at 21, and I'm now 55. The money and how to do it has evolved, and I evolved with it. I have been shaking my tits for money forever, and I don't plan to stop. The money to do it is way easier and better to do it, which makes me an incredible salesperson to make men pay to see my tits despite having over 1 billion views on all the sex tube sites. There are now plenty of women in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years still making good money. It is misogyny that tells us we only have a few good years to make money. And honestly, why believe men when they say anything? If you want a different life, different challenges, then go for it. Don't let what others think stop you from your goals and dreams. There are always roadblocks in life. Overcoming them is half the fun.
This kind of goes into kind of what we've talked about on this podcast a handful of times, which is the whole, personal branding side of things. Cause there's like with OnlyFans, there's kind of like, the direct response cash grab marketing methods, which is just like, spamming Reddit and spamming TikTok with thirst traps and stuff like that. But like, if you kind of get outside of that and you start building an actual personal brand, then you can kind of pivot into anything after OnlyFans. You can pivot into, any kind of health and wellness and take brand deals, or, there's just a million things that you can do if you kind of have like a personal brand outside of that just blatant spam thirst trap style of content. And you can really grow something big and pivot into basically anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you want to ride, like, don't feel any pressure to, like, there's not an age window for this. I think everyone has their limits, like where they ideally will kind of be done with it. And sometimes that changes. Like when I first started, said that I probably wouldn't do it past 40, but like that doesn't seem that far away to me anymore. And I could see myself doing this I could easily do it for another 10 years, probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen, with some of the guests that have been on this podcast, I mean, age is not really a thing. I mean, there's plenty of older ones that are doing really, really well. And, yeah, I mean, I don't think that has any.
Yeah. So if anyone's ever telling you that you're getting too old to do this, that's not true. There's literally like 70-year-olds with OnlyFans pages, and there is a market for everything.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like, instead of, like we've mentioned before, instead of kind of looking at OnlyFans as the end all be all, look at what you're doing as becoming a social media business, not necessarily just an OnlyFans business, but a social media business where OnlyFans is just one component of your business. And then it's not, and then you're not fully dependent on that one thing. And whether you want to monetize through OnlyFans or through brand deals or through ad revenue or for, this and that, all that becomes available once you have, like an actual personal brand and stuff like that.
Like that girl that we saw in that show last night. She started doing OnlyFans when she was like 50.
Well, yeah, we were watching this. Was that on Netflix?
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu thing. They were talking about some of the famous actresses that did OnlyFans. She was the girl on Sopranos.
Yeah, Sopranos.
Yeah, she was on The Sopranos, and then she basically started a business right before the pandemic, and then, the world shut down, and she kind of almost went broke, and then started OnlyFans, and then that kind of saved her through that period.
Well, and then so she doesn't do nudes at all. She was explaining that she mostly has a subscription price, and then she does like paid lives, free and paid lives, and then she does cameo type stuff, which is brilliant because she's iconic for like that genre in television. Like everybody knows who she is. And so I thought that was really cool. But she said she was acting, obviously in the early 2000s, whatever. She had a couple kids, and then the pandemic came, and as everyone knows, like Hollywood kind of shut down largely during that time. And then when things picked back up, she had a hard time finding gigs or jobs. And so she was suggested to start OnlyFans, and she did, and she doesn't do nudes, and she still was able to like totally turn her financial situation around. And then off the back of that, she's starting a clothing line, she said.
I don't remember. Yeah, something like that. They were trying to launch something. Her
and her partner had this really cool, I forget what the name of the brand is, but they're starting like a clothing line, and they said they were able to start that, and they're funding that project with OnlyFans. And she's like in her mid-50s or something. She looks fucking amazing, and she is having fun.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
But even her, like not doing nudes and everything like that, she was getting just as much hate from all the red pill people as anybody else. Just so like that's just one more point to prove that it doesn't matter what you do. Like you're just going to get a ton of hate from everywhere. Obviously, specifically from the red pill groups and stuff like that. But like, it doesn't matter what you do. You're just going to get hate no matter what. So just do whatever you want and just go for it.
And then this kind of ties into that same line of thinking. This girl says, "Are we sure cellulite and flabby thighs are going to attract attention? I've been waiting and working on my body before getting officially going, but I don't think I'll ever be fully confident. I've read on here advice from so many gorgeous, confident women. Did anyone else struggle with this when beginning their sex work journey? I'm just as insecure as the next person about cellulite or this or that, but at the end of the day, I used to be a lot more shy about it or insecure about it, I guess. But doing this work has shown me, it's made me more confident in my body and more accepting of my own body.
Well, what I'll say from the kind of analytical side is, so, we have a group, the OnlyFans Level Up group, where there's a few hundred creators in there. And so I can kind of see what everybody's doing and everything like that. So from a pure data point of view, I mean, if you look at the looks perspective, that's a much smaller factor than the marketing side. So like a lot of people will get results or a lack of results and they'll attribute that to, I don't look a certain way or this or that. And that's actually a much smaller variable than the actual strategy, the marketing, the systems, and the stuff that you put into place to drive traffic to your account. And that's, the way that you promote and advertise and set up your marketing systems makes up the large majority of results.
By the way, if you want to join us in the OnlyFans Level Up community, that is where I share all of my best secrets and strategies for OnlyFans creators, many of which are hitting really big numbers, as you may have seen from various guests on this podcast. But either way, it's a great place to be if you want to network or learn all of the best secrets and strategies to grow your OnlyFans account. You can find all of that information with the link down in the description below. But for now, back to the podcast.
So there's a couple of comments here. This first one says, "I don't think you should get into this industry if you're insecure with yourself. You're going to deal with a ton of hate and you need to have a solid sense of self and extremely thick skin to combat all the negativity we have to deal with from the trolls of the internet. You're also going to compare yourself to other women when promoting. You're going to run into thousands of beautiful women online and it's going to be brutal for you. Be careful, OP. This industry is not made for insecure people. Prepare for serious mental battle if this is something you want to do. You're already setting yourself up for failure by telling yourself you'll never be fully confident. This is not the mindset you want in business like this."
I'd agree with that 100%.
Before I comment on that, I want to read this next one. She says, "I would disagree with this to an extent. The self-confidence I had before going into sex work was a 2 at best. Now, hard 8, 9. I really grew into myself, found my self-confidence, and learned that not every single man on earth is looking for the same type of girl. I really learned that some men appreciate someone who isn't a size 2 with big boobs and blonde hair or the conventionally pretty girl. Is this the case for every creator? No, of course not. But saying you're setting yourself up for failure is a false narrative."
Yeah, I think both comments are right. Like, it's kind of like a sink or swim type of situation. Like, I think some creators will go in and they'll be completely destroyed by the comments and the way people react. Others will take that and actually become more confident, learn how to not care about what certain groups think. And so I think, it could be damaging and crippling to some, whereas others, it's like you go in there and get beat to shit and you rise through from the ashes, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for that. And then we have your little section here.
All right, so this was just a section because more and more creators have been kind of, migrating. Obviously, a year ago, whatever, the main strategies were kind of like TikTok, Reddit, stuff like that. Now creators have started migrating to, Instagram Reels and YouTube and stuff like that. And so this was kind of just to show some other, for the creators that are still kind of feeling stuck on a certain platform, whether it's Reddit or Twitter, whatever it is that they're doing. This is just kind of something that I've been preaching for a long time, but I think people are starting to finally kind of migrate over to this strategy, or to at least, thinking about how to go in this direction. And so here's a few YouTube accounts. First, I'll bring up these YouTube accounts just to show what these creators are doing. And then I'll kind of like break down a little bit of the strategy behind these. So with YouTube, it's like anything, there's, the standard kind of promotional niche categories, which right now, one of the big ones is, YouTube try-on hauls, which seem to be doing extremely well for many creators. And so this is one where they're, creators are kind of just doing these different try-on hauls and stuff like that. The next one here is, things like yoga. So a lot of these creators are doing, well, if you want to call it yoga, but
It
yoga
is technically yoga.
I mean, yeah. So this is kind of, whatever you want to call it. However, the way that you can classify content in a certain category, whether it's yoga, stretching, or, a try-on review, things like that, which is why this type of content works. But yeah, so there's these different categories like this, and then I'll just bring another one. And so these are some pretty popular categories. Obviously, there's a lot more than this. This one is ASMR, obviously another very popular OnlyFans niche. But these, niches work really, really well on YouTube. But so the reason that YouTube is a really strong platform, in my opinion, is because you get so much more from it. Number one, for anybody who's in the group, they kind of understand the evergreen component of it. But if we look at this, so the kind of the way that we use this type of content is if, say, for example, you create a long form YouTube video, and we'll just say that video is, a try-on haul or whatever. And then, from that try-on haul, you can then create a handful of short form videos from that one video that you made on YouTube. So you make one video on YouTube and you can get, a handful of shorts from that. We'll say you get 5 short videos. So now from that one piece of content, now all of a sudden you have 6 pieces of content. And then all of those short pieces of content would then get sent to all of the various short form platforms. And the reason that this is cool is because you can automate the large majority of this process. So essentially, you create a video on YouTube and then you can set up, different automation systems to where the large majority of this is all just going to happen. So instead of like, a year ago, a creator would be putting all of her effort into TikTok every day, just TikTok. And that's fine, but what happens when TikTok doesn't work anymore? Well, then we run into the situation that everybody's in right now. We're like, oh, it's over, nothing works, blah, blah, whatever. But if you're focusing on something like this, where TikTok is just one small piece of your overall strategy, then, it doesn't have as big of an effect when these types of situations happen where a TikTok, where a certain platform stops getting views or whatever. So anyway, point is, if you want to kind of see specifically how we set this kind of stuff up and just these different systems and automation and stuff like that, I mean, you do have to do it in the right way. Otherwise, it doesn't work as well as, a lot of people that try to set up this kind of stuff, it doesn't work that well because a lot of people just don't do it right. But anyway, if you want to see more about that, I'll have the link for the group down in the description below. You guys can check that out if you want.